Something went seriously wrong on live TV. The laughs suddenly stopped. Jimmy Fallon went silent. One comment from Mikey Day changed everything. Seconds later, music cuts in, cameras panic, and the show goes to commercial. But when it comes back, Mikey is gone. No farewell, no explanation. Was he kicked off the show live? Or did he expose something he wasn't supposed to say? What really happened will shock you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Now let's dive into what really happened. The night began exactly the way millions of late-night viewers expected. Bright lights, upbeat music, roaring applause. Mikey Day, one of the most recognizable comedy faces in America, a longtime Saturday Night Live writer, and a performer known for his clean, clever humor, stepped onto the Tonight Show stage with confidence and charm. The audience welcomed him warmly, clapping and cheering as if they already knew they were in for a fun, memorable interview. And honestly, at first they were right. Jimmy Fallon greeted Mikey with his trademark grin, the kind audiences have seen for years, relaxed, friendly, and playful. The two exchanged quick jokes, poked fun at each other's schedules, and laughed about the fast pace of late-night television. It felt natural, comfortable, like two comedians who understood each other's rhythm. Mikey talked about upcoming projects, sprinkled in a few harmless behind-the-scenes stories, and leaned into the kind of humor fans expected from him. The crowd laughed easily. The band played cheerful transitions. Everything followed the familiar late-night formula. Nothing felt unusual. Nothing felt risky. At least, not yet. As the conversation continued, the structure slowly loosened. Mikey drifted away from rehearsed talking points and began improvising more freely. His jokes became sharper, not offensive, not loud, but more pointed. He teased the industry. He joked about pressure. He hinted at how comedy can sometimes feel overpolished on big television stages. At first, it sounded harmless, even relatable. The audience laughed again, but this time, the laughter came with a slight hesitation. Some chuckles landed a beat late. Others faded quickly. The energy shifted just enough that a careful viewer might sense something changing beneath the surface. Jimmy Fallon laughed too, but not in the same way. If you looked closely, you could see the shift. His smile stayed in place, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. His responses became shorter. He nodded more than usual, as if listening carefully rather than playing along. The playful back and forth began to feel cautious. Mikey, meanwhile, appeared relaxed, maybe even more relaxed than before. He leaned back in his chair, spoke more confidently, and continued making jokes that felt less scripted and more personal. Not cruel, not aggressive, just honest in a way live television rarely allows. That honesty changed the room. The band, usually quick to jump in with musical cues, stayed quieter. Camera angles lingered longer instead of cutting rapidly. The audience's laughter became uneven. Some people laughed loudly. Others looked around as if trying to figure out whether they should be laughing. It was subtle, easy to miss, but it was there. Late-night television is built on rhythm. Hosts and guests dance carefully between humor and control, spontaneity and safety. That night, the rhythm started slipping. Mikey's jokes felt like they were testing the boundaries of what could be said on a tightly produced show. Jimmy's reaction suggested he noticed. There was no argument, no raised voice, no obvious confrontation, just tension. The kind of tension that creeps in quietly, settling between smiles and pauses. The kind that makes a room feel slightly colder, even under studio lights. The kind that tells experienced viewers that something unexpected might be coming. To the casual audience, it was still just another interview. But to those paying close attention, the tightened jaw, the forced laugh, the delayed applause, it was clear that the atmosphere had shifted. Something had changed. And no one in that studio could have predicted where it was about to lead. Because what started as a perfectly normal late-night appearance was slowly transforming into a moment that would leave viewers questioning what really happened when the cameras were rolling and what might happen next when they stopped. Late-night television survives on improvisation. It's the secret ingredient that makes interviews feel alive, unpredictable, and human. But behind the laughs, there's an unspoken rule every comedian understands. You can improvise, but you must know the line. That night, according to several insiders, Mikey Day didn't just approach that line. He leaned into it. The shift happened gradually. Mikey began talking about the realities of working in comedy at the highest level. He joked about tight schedules, last-minute rewrites, and the pressure to always appear upbeat, no matter what was happening behind the scenes. On the surface, it sounded like standard industry humor, the kind audiences usually enjoy because it feels honest and relatable. Jimmy Fallon laughed along at first. He nodded, smiled, and added light responses to keep the mood playful. From the outside, it looked like everything was still under control. But then Mikey went a step further. He made a comment about creative control, how guest appearances can sometimes feel overmanaged, and how spontaneity is often carefully monitored. The joke landed, but it landed differently. The audience laughed, yet the sound wasn't as confident as before. It was laughter mixed with curiosity and uncertainty. Jimmy chuckled, but this time it felt automatic. Sensing attention, Mikey didn't pull back. Instead, he doubled down. He followed up with sarcastic remark about forced laughs and how late-night TV sometimes sells the illusion of fun rather than the real thing. The words weren't shouted. They weren't cruel, but they were sharp. And that's when the mood changed instantly. The room felt quieter, even though people were still laughing. The audience's reaction became uneven. Some laughed loudly, others hesitated, unsure whether the joke was meant to be taken lightly or seriously. You could almost hear people thinking instead of laughing. Jimmy's body language shifted. He leaned forward slightly, smiled tightly, and attempted to redirect the conversation. He tossed out a safer question, one clearly meant to bring things back to familiar ground. This was a classic late-night move, a gentle course correction. But Mikey didn't stop. Instead of returning to light humor, his tone grew more grounded, more reflective. What had started as playful teasing now felt like commentary. His delivery slowed. His expressions became more focused. The jokes began to feel personal, not just about the industry, but about the environment they were in at that very moment. That's when production signs became noticeable. The cameras began cutting to wider shots, a subtle technique often used to diffuse tension. The band hesitated before playing transitions. Offstage, producers could be seen whispering, exchanging looks, and glancing toward the host's desk. These are small details viewers rarely notice, but in live television, they matter. The energy on stage was no longer balanced. Jimmy continued smiling, but his responses were shorter, more controlled. He laughed less. He nodded more. The playful host had shifted into professional mode, managing the situation rather than enjoying it. Meanwhile, Mikey seemed fully aware of the attention, whether intentional or not. He kept speaking with confidence, almost as if he believed honesty would outweigh discomfort. The laughter that followed his comments felt tense, polite applause mixed with nervous chuckles. At that moment, it became clear to everyone in the room, this wasn't just a joke segment anymore. What the audience was witnessing felt unscripted in the purest sense, not chaotic, but uncomfortable. The kind of discomfort that comes when entertainment briefly drops its mask and reality peeks through. Late-night shows are designed to feel effortless, but that effortlessness is carefully maintained. When someone challenges it, especially live, things can unravel quickly. And as the tension continued to build, it was obvious that the interview was heading toward a breaking point. Whatever happened next would no longer be something producers could laugh off. Then came the moment viewers are still replaying. It didn't explode with shouting or obvious confrontation. In fact, that's what made it so shocking. After several tense exchanges, Mikey Day made one final comment, short, sharp, and completely unexpected. It wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive, but it landed hard. The reaction was instant. Jimmy Fallon paused. Not the usual half-second pause comedians use for timing, but a real pause. The kind that feels heavy. The kind that makes a studio full of people suddenly realize something has gone wrong. For a brief moment, the entire room seemed frozen. No laughter, no applause, no music, just silence. You could feel it through the screen. Audience members leaned forward in their seats, unsure how to react. Some smiled awkwardly. Others glanced around, as if checking whether it was okay to laugh. The band stayed completely quiet, waiting for a signal that didn't come right away. Jimmy finally responded, but his tone had changed. He remained calm, professional, and controlled, but the warmth was gone. His words were brief, direct, firm. He didn't joke back. He didn't build on the comment. Instead, he acknowledged it and immediately shifted gears, clearly signaling that the moment had gone far enough. Experienced viewers knew exactly what that meant. Within seconds, Jimmy thanked Mikey, quickly, almost abruptly. It felt rushed, as if the show was suddenly trying to regain control. The band jumped in louder than usual, filling the space with music that felt slightly forced, almost urgent. The camera cut away faster than expected. Then, commercial break. For viewers at home, the transition felt strange. There was no smooth wrap-up, no final laugh, no friendly send-off. Just a sudden stop, like a conversation cut mid-sentence. And when the show returned, Mikey Day was gone. No explanation was offered. No casual joke about time running out. No playful, "we'll be right back." Jimmy continued the show as if nothing unusual had happened. But viewers noticed. They always notice. Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of the interview spread rapidly across platforms, slowed down, zoomed in, and analyzed frame by frame. People debated Jimmy's facial expression. Others focused on Mikey's body language. Comments flooded in with captions like, "This wasn't scripted," and "Fallon just shut it down." Some viewers were convinced it was real tension, a genuine clash that got out of hand. Others argued it had to be staged, a publicity stunt designed to spark controversy. But even those skeptical voices admitted one thing: it felt real. Too real. Late-night television thrives on polish. Even fake drama usually looks rehearsed. This didn't. The awkward pauses, the rushed goodbye, the sudden commercial break, it all pointed to something unplanned. Fans began asking questions immediately. Why was the segment cut short? Why didn't Mikey return? Why was the episode edited differently in later broadcasts? The lack of answers only fueled the speculation. Industry insiders pointed out that cutting to commercial is often a last resort move during live TV, a way to stop a moment before it spirals further. Others noted how unusual it is for a guest to disappear without a proper farewell, especially someone as established and respected as Mikey Day. The silence from both sides made everything louder. No immediate statements. No clarifications. No tweets explaining it was just a joke. And in the world of entertainment, silence often means something went wrong. What made the moment so compelling wasn't anger. It was restraint. Jimmy didn't explode. Mikey didn't argue. Instead, viewers watched two professionals quietly reach a breaking point in real time without anyone explicitly saying it out loud. That's why the moment stuck. It felt like watching a curtain slip just for a second, revealing how fragile live television really is. One comment, one pause, one decision to cut away. And suddenly, what began as a normal interview turned into one of the most talked about late-night moments of the year. Whatever really happened in that moment, one thing was undeniable. This was no longer just entertainment. According to unnamed sources close to production, the tension didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. In many ways, that's when things became even more uncomfortable. As soon as the red on-air light turned off, the atmosphere backstage reportedly shifted from awkward to openly tense. Crew members who were present that night described the mood as heavy and uneasy. Conversations that are usually light and routine after a segment were replaced by hushed voices and serious expressions. Producers quickly stepped in, pulling key people aside. What had just happened on live television was being processed in real time, and not everyone saw it the same way. Several insiders claimed that Mikey Day felt blindsided. From his perspective, he was doing what comedians do best: being honest, pushing boundaries, and keeping things real. He reportedly believed his comments were taken more seriously than intended, and felt that his creative freedom was being restricted mid-interview. To him, the sudden shutdown felt like censorship rather than correction. On the other side, members of the show's team reportedly felt disrespected. Late-night television runs on tight control. Every second is timed. Every moment is carefully shaped to maintain tone, brand, and audience comfort. From a producer's viewpoint, Mikey's comments cross from playful honesty into territory that risked undermining the show itself, especially while live. That's not just a creative concern. It's a production nightmare. This difference in perspective is where the real conflict lived. Witnesses say voices were raised, not in an explosive way, but enough to signal frustration. It wasn't a screaming match, but it wasn't calm either. Producers acted quickly, aiming to de-escalate the situation before it grew worse. Decisions had to be made immediately. How to move forward with the rest of the show, how to manage the guest, and how to protect the program's image. And that's where the biggest question emerged. Was Mikey Day actually kicked off the show, or was it a mutual decision to separate, cool down, and avoid making things worse? No one involved publicly clarified. No press release followed. No behind-the-scenes photos appeared. The silence was striking. And in the entertainment world, silence often signals seriousness. Industry insiders say moments like this are rare, but not impossible. Live television offers no second chances. There's no editing button, no retakes. When something feels out of control, producers are trained to act fast, sometimes making decisions that look harsh on the outside but are meant to prevent bigger problems. By the next day, observant fans noticed something else. The episode looked different. In reruns and online clips, certain moments appeared shorter. Pauses were tightened. Transitions felt smoother than they had live. While nothing obvious was removed, the energy had clearly been adjusted. It was subtle but deliberate. That quiet editing told its own story. If everything had gone as planned, there would have been no need to adjust anything. No reason to smooth edges. No reason to let the moment fade, without explanation. But there were no interviews addressing it. No tweets laughing it off. No, just a misunderstanding, comments from either side. Instead, the incident was allowed to disappear quietly, at least officially. For fans, that silence spoke volumes. It suggested that whatever happened behind the scenes wasn't just awkward. It was serious enough that both sides chose discretion over publicity. And in an industry where attention is currency, choosing silence is rarely accidental. Whether Mikey was removed, walked away, or agreed to step back, one thing became clear. The night left a mark, not just on the episode, but on everyone who witnessed how quickly a polished television moment can unravel once the cameras stop rolling. This moment wasn't just about Mikey Day, and it wasn't just about Jimmy Fallon. It struck a nerve because it exposed something audiences almost never get to see: the fragile balance between comedy, control, and authenticity on live television. Viewers are used to smooth interviews, polished smiles, and jokes that feel safe. Late-night TV is designed to be comforting, predictable, and easy to watch. What happened that night was none of those things. It felt raw. It felt real. And most importantly, it felt unscripted. That's exactly why it went viral. In an era where nearly everything on television feels carefully manufactured, this moment stood out like a crack in the glass. Audiences sensed it immediately. Even people who couldn't fully explain why something felt off knew they had witnessed something different. The tension, the pauses, the sudden ending, it all signaled authenticity in a space built on control. Within hours, clips flooded social media. Some viewers praised Mikey Day, calling him brave for speaking honestly about the pressures of the industry. To them, he wasn't being disrespectful. He was being real. They saw his comments as a rare moment of truth, slipping through a tightly controlled format. Others strongly disagreed. They felt Jimmy Fallon was doing his job, protecting the show, the audience, and the structure that keeps live television from falling apart. From this perspective, allowing the moment to continue unchecked could have led to chaos, confusion, or even embarrassment for everyone involved. And that divide is what kept the conversation alive. People debated for days, sometimes weeks. Was Mikey being honest, or was he crossing a professional boundary? Was Jimmy protecting his show, or shutting down free expression? Was the tension genuine, or was it a brilliant publicity move? Every pause was analyzed. Every facial expression was turned into a screenshot. Every edit was treated like evidence. The lack of official explanation only added fuel to the fire. When public figures stay silent, audiences fill in the gaps themselves. And sometimes Silence makes a story louder. Neither Mikey Day nor Jimmy Fallon fully addressed the incident. No interviews cleared the air. No statements confirmed or denied what really happened. That decision, intentional or not, allowed the moment to live on as speculation, debate, and mystery. What made this episode so powerful is that it reminded everyone of something important. Even the biggest, most experienced shows are still human at their core. They rely on timing, trust, and unspoken rules. When one of those breaks, even slightly, the entire illusion can crack. This wasn't a meltdown. It wasn't a scandal. It was something subtler and more fascinating. It was a reminder that live television has no safety net. One unexpected comment, one uncomfortable pause, one decision to cut away. And suddenly, millions of viewers were watching not just a show, but a moment where control and authenticity collided. So now the question is yours. Do you think this was a real clash? Or a misunderstood moment blown out of proportion? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Join the conversation. And don't forget to subscribe for more shocking celebrity stories you won't see anywhere else. Because when the spotlight flickers, even for a second, the truth has a way of shining through.